Hey everybody, so I haven't done a vlog day in the life as a YouTuber slash vintage reseller video in a very, very long time. But I have a lot on my to-do list today. So I thought, why not make it a separate dedicated video? Because there's one thing that I absolutely love more than anything, and that is day in the life behind the scenes videos. I don't want to see what you ate. I don't want to see you put on your makeup, but I do want to see how you're building your empire and your businesses, because that's so helpful to me as someone who wants to do the same. And so I thought, today I'm going to share with you what it's like to be me on the day-to-day basis. So first up, we're going to create a to-do list. So today I have to film a haul video, and this one's very exciting because it's from a huge shopping event that I just did with my friends. And it's my favorite one of the year. So I actually need to film that haul video. That's why I'm so gussied up. Not for this video, but for the video I'm going to be filming. And I got so many items when I shopped that day that it is just all over the floor. So that is one thing that is going on today's to-do list. After filming my haul video, I need to pack 2 orders, which should be fairly straightforward because they're just 2 small pieces of art. I also need to prep for my one-on-one call that I have tomorrow. So this kind of came out of the workshop that I did last month. These one-on-one calls, people could upgrade their ticket. So I have a call tomorrow morning, first thing. And so usually that entails me having to do like a total deep dive and audit of their social media accounts. And then of course, look at the questions that they have, because I always ask people to send questions prior to the call. That way I can do a lot of prep in advance. So when we get on the call, we are like diving straight in, because if you're paying me for my time, I want to make sure that you're getting a lot out of the call. So if after filming the haul video, packing my orders and prepping for my call, I have any more time in the day, usually that means I'm ready to pick up my kiddo. I will try and photograph some stuff on my dresser today. So anytime I drop a video, I always make sure to have most of the items in that video listed on Etsy, ready to be purchased. And because this video has so many items that I'm going to show you, that is going to be a feat. That is going to be a lot of listings. Like looking at this, I feel like it could be 25 to 30 listings that I need to get photographed and measured and prepped and live prior to that video going live. And just for reference, this video needs to be edited and it needs to be live in 2 days. So, fun times. So anyways, if I have enough time, I'm going to do that. Photographing is something that is very light dependent. Right now, the light is terrible on my dresser where I photograph my stuff. It's just too bright. So that's always a bummer, trying to time the right time to get the best lighting, because I just photograph in natural light. I don't usually use a lighting kit. That's just so much hassle to me to do that. I don't like having my big lights around, and so I try to do as much as I can in natural light. So anyways, these are the things I'm going to try to get accomplished today. So now it's time for me to tackle the first item on my list today, which is to film my haul video. So I need to get set up for that, and then we will pick up with the rest of the day. So this is pretty much everything I'm going to be hauling today. There's a few things that are downstairs in my laundry room, like 2 pillows that I'm in the process of cleaning, needlepoint pillows, and I have some of the artwork here, but there's some other art pieces that are actually downstairs because I'm trying to decide if I want to keep them or sell them. But yeah, a lot of stuff. I'm going to focus on mostly the pieces that will be live on Etsy when I'm doing my haul, and then I'll touch on a few standouts that will be in my vintage booth. But this is definitely a mix of stuff that will go online and be available in person. So one request I get often is, can I include at the end of the video a clip of everything I got in the haul, just like a pan around? And I always forget to do this, but because I am processing so many pieces today and I am not highlighting everything in the haul video, I figured, you know what, I'm just going to put it all up on my dresser and do the pan around that you guys have requested, usually to music. So when you watch in the video, it's usually like me slow-mo going around to music. So I staged the first round of stuff, and I have so much that I got in this haul, I actually need to put more on the dresser. So I'm going to take all this stuff down now and put the next lot of stuff up. So I staged the second half of the haul, and then I also wanted to stage just the finds that I decided to keep for now for myself. So one question I get all the time is, how do I decide what goes on Etsy versus what goes into a vintage booth? And there's kind of 2 things that I think about as I'm looking at a huge haul of inventory. when I went out sourcing and I got stuff for both selling scenarios, I think of two things. One, do I have a regular buyer who would want this? And if I do and they're out of state, that item is automatically going to go online. So I have a lot of regular buyers now. Thankfully, all of you, I appreciate you so much. There's certain pieces that I'm like, oh, so-and-so is going to want that. I'm going to put that online. And the other thing I'm always thinking about is how much each thing is worth. Anything that is valued under $38, I typically don't list it on Etsy anymore. That's just because all the time it takes to prep it, clean it, photograph it, list it, and then ship it. I don't want to ship things that are under $38 in value anymore because I want to focus on higher dollar value items. Because I have a booth space, I can take more affordable pieces there, and that's where those can live and they can sell, and I can price them to move because I'm not doing as much to them. I just have to put a tag on them and drop them off versus all the stuff that goes into listing online on Etsy. So going through my haul here quickly, the Kakeshi dolls will go online. I have a lot of dedicated buyers now that are looking for them. They usually go for $48 and up, and the bigger ones, a lot more. With the exception of this little cutie pie, she doesn't make sense to list online because she's not worth really more than probably $24. So she will go in my booth. Any small figurine like this leopard, this is not worth a lot. Any sort of small box, usually I price my boxes at about $18 to $24. These are a great example. These would be like $16 to $18 probably in my booth. I'm not going to list these online because they're just not worth, the hassle of pricing and shipping, like I said. Now this piece, on the other hand, this is worth a lot more because it's in pristine condition. It's bigger. It's very cool. I can wait for a buyer who's willing to pay up for something like this. And so this is an example of a piece that, would it sell in my booth? Sure, it's an amazing piece, but I want top dollar for it, and so I'm going to list it online. So here are some art examples. So this piece, it was $6. It's art on board. It's really nicely done, but it's not worth a ton, maybe $24, which is why I'm going to put it in my booth. Where this piece, it's framed, it's really well done, artist signed, and I think I paid $10 for it, so a little bit more. This piece is more valuable, and because of that, it's going to go online on Etsy. I also have a lot of dedicated buyers who love floral pieces like this, so that's another reason why I would put it up on Etsy. So with brass pieces, I usually put animals or items that I have sold before, like this turtle and this guy. These will go online because it's an easy copy and paste because I have sold them a few times previously and they're more high value items. Now, like a small little brass figurine, that's something I'm going to take to my booth. It's just one of those impulse purchases that I have on display. I don't want anyone to come into my booth and not buy something. I mean, of course it happens all the time, but I try to have a few things that are like a no-brainer, like this cutie pie. Like, this is going to be very inexpensive, and someone who collects them, they'll see it, they're like, oh, that's really lovely. Okay, I'm going to buy that. It's just like a no-brainer to them because it's priced to move. And so that's why I do kind of the smaller little figurines, whether they're brass or Kakeshi or otherwise. I usually bring them to my booth because they don't make sense to list online and they're really good impulse purchases. Anything made by a well-known artist, whether it's art or ceramics or art glass, oftentimes those will start out online just because there are people looking for those keywords when they're searching online. So I will start those typically online first, and then if they don't sell, then I'll bring them to my booth space. So this is by Robert Held. This is by, what's his name? Trying to blank here. Ken Edwards. This is by Ken Edwards. So that is these are both very commonly searched artists. And so that's why they will go online first. And then if they don't sell, then I will bring them to my booth. Anything that is kind of not like unsigned, you're not sure who it's by, like me, I have not looked this up, but let's say this is not by anyone in particular. This is an example of something that could go in a booth because no one is necessarily looking for this in any sort of meaningful way online in terms of search terms, where these people are actually typing in the names of the makers, and these will then display in search results. So anything that has an artist's signature and name that's well known, I usually will put those online first. Okay, so that is my kind of strategy when I go through a haul, especially a haul where I have accumulated stuff for online and a booth, and how I make my decisions what goes where. But sometimes something I start online ends up in my booth, and sometimes something I put in my booth hasn't moved, then I will then put it online. So it's definitely fluid, and that's totally normal and encouraged. If you don't move something somewhere, then you can always try to move it somewhere else. Sometimes with the smaller items, if I can't move them, if I have enough of the same, then I'll just group them together, and then I will list them online, because as a grouping, I can get more money for them, shipping them is easier, and then it makes sense to sell them online. So these are just kind of all the things that I think about as I'm processing my haul. So because I've already filmed my haul, I am going to formally sort everything that I plan to list online and bring to my booth. And then I'm going to try and maybe do some photographing, because it looks like the lighting situation is really good and I have a little bit of time before I have to pick up my son. So this is my photography area. It's just a plain white IKEA dresser, a plain white wall. I like the white on white just because the item itself pops. You're not like distracted by overly patterned backgrounds or other colors. It's just the item that you're seeing, because sometimes I see listing photos where there's just so much going on in the background that it competes with whatever, you're listing. So I usually just center the item on the dresser and take photos with my iPhone, adjusting the exposure if I need to based on the light. And I always make sure that I leave a lot of space around the photo that I'm photographing, because sometimes people photograph too tight and then your thumbnail photo is like just a fraction or a section of the piece rather than the whole piece. So you can't even see the whole piece. I don't know why people do that, but you need to make sure that you have your piece centered in a frame. That way when the system or the Etsy system or the eBay system selects the thumbnail, that there's enough space around it so it's not a weird, awkward angle, if that makes sense. I see that a lot with people's listings, especially in the beginning. So yeah, no fancy setup, no fancy equipment. It's just my iPhone, a white dresser, and a white background, and that's good enough for me. Sometimes I'll do a little styling, but only if I need it to show scale, because sometimes I'll add a plant or a book just to show what the item would look like with those things, and people can then see, oh, okay, this is how it would look on a dresser, or this is how it would look on a bookcase, because sometimes it can be hard to judge scale for certain items. So that's usually when I will bring in those objects, but largely speaking, I just photograph it with just the item itself and none of the other little bits that sometimes people add. Okay, so I have finally organized everything to photograph, and I wanted to give you a photography tip when you're photographing things for Etsy or for listing online. So if you open your photo app and you swipe up on photo, you're given all these options. If you click the plus minus, this is the exposure. So you actually can bump up the exposure prior to taking the photo. So I usually do like 0.7, and that makes it a lot brighter and the picture much more like punchy. And it saves me from having to do a lot of editing after I take the photo. So I definitely recommend this. When you're starting to take your photos, you're doing a photo session, like adjust the exposure if you feel like the natural light is just not bright enough. Like right now that's kind of dull, and bumping it up to 0.7 makes it almost listing ready. So that's just something like I definitely recommend that a lot of people don't do and don't even know that they can do with their camera phone. I can't tell you how many times I walk around my studio space and manage to get attacked by a sticker, a price tag. They are everywhere in this place. And this one is probably the biggest one I've had attached to me in a while. This is from a winter art piece that I got at the marketplace that I just did. $5, friends, $5 for a really cool, oh, actually, it's this one. It's this one right here. $5 for this, which I thought was really great. But yeah, my bottom half is never glamorous when I'm filming. It's always like sweatpants and like Ugg booties. So it's a few days later in the evening, and I wanted to talk about kind of what sold in my Etsy shop, because I thought it'd be a great way to close this video, because you just saw me process all the stuff. And now after dropping the haul video that I filmed, a large percentage of it sold. I would say 75% or more of it sold. And the other great part about this sales weekend is I actually sold a few items that had been sticking around from previous hauls this weekend too. So it was a really good and surprising sales weekend. I am overwhelmed knowing how many boxes I'm going to need to get this week in order to process all the orders. So it's going to be a busy, busy shipping week. So rather than go one by one and show you what sold, I'm actually going to put on the screen just screenshots of all the things that sold on Etsy over the last like 36 to 48 hours. It's mostly stuff from the garage sale haul. There's other pieces like this key hook and this leopard painting. These are from previous hauls that sold. I definitely had a few pieces sell from previous hauls. This as well, like this brass dish that will be included in it. But largely speaking, it's going to be from the garage sale haul. Just in a nutshell, in terms of pricing, like all the Kakeshis were priced at around $48. The brass pieces kind of started at $48 and then went up. Actually, no, I think they started at $58. With the knocker, the lion knocker, and the largest hourglass being some of the most expensive, $78. And then the giant bell sold for $289, that huge one that I got for $35. And if you remember, in terms of like starting point for how much I paid for everything, a large percentage of it was under $5, and then some of it was under $10. A few of the art pieces were over $10, and then this hourglass I definitely paid up for, and that giant bell I paid up for. But for the most part, that's a really good flip for everything. So yeah, it was a really strong sales weekend, and thank you so much, everybody, for all your purchases, especially those that continue to shop my Etsy shop. I appreciate you so much. Okay, so that is a wrap on today's video. Thank you so much for following along. You'll have to let me know if you like this style of video, because it's been a little while since I've done like a day in the life. And it's kind of fun to do because there's so much that goes into my day that I feel like could help others who want to get into either reselling or being a reselling YouTuber like myself. So if you enjoy this video, let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching today, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Take care.